Welcome to Material Handling Training. Today, we're going to be talking about slings and chains. When we talk about slings and chains, we're talking about chains, synthetic web slings, and wire rope. We're also addressing OSHA rules, and there's two of them, one for construction and one for general industry. We'll talk about selection, use, and inspection. Before you start doing overhead lifting, rigging training is required, and that will be determined by the type of lifting your job requires. This training will provide an overview of safe practices, knowing lifting chain grades, identify and understand sling markings, understand safe working load limits, as well as how to conduct a pre-use inspections, selecting proper attachments, select the proper sling for a job, and remove from service when no longer serviceable. After this training, you'll need to have a discussion with your supervisor to talk about today's training. That way, we make sure that everybody's on the same page. So our objectives are to identify safe criteria for inspecting and using material handling slings and chains. Whenever a sling is used, the following practices must be observed. These are minimum safe operating practices. Slings that are damaged or defective shall not be used. Slings shall not be shortened with knots. Use of bolts are prohibited. Sling legs shall not be licked. Slings shall not be loaded in excess of the rated capacities. Slings used in a basket hitch shall have the loads balanced, and slings shall be correctly attached. Slings shall be padded or protected from sharp edges and objects. Suspended loads be kept clear of all obstructions, and all employees kept clear when you're lifting. Your hands and fingers shall not be placed between the sling and the load. Shock loading is prohibited, and a sling shall not be pulled from under a load while it's resting. There are different chain grades. Some grades are used for lifting, and some grades cannot be used for lifting. The three chain grades on the left, G30, 43, and 70, are not permitted for overhead lifting. Overhead lifting, you must use a grade 80 or higher. Vulnerability includes personal injury, property damage, business interruption, and huge cost when there are accidents. Chain and alloy steel chain slings used for overhead lifting are covered in the OSHA Rule 1910-184. As stated earlier, there are many different grades of chains. A grade 30 chain is low strength and inexpensive. A grade 43 is a high-test carbon steel for special applications. A grade 70 chain is for DOT used to lash loads down on over-the-road trucks. The three grades below can be used for overhead lifting. Grade 80 is most common for overhead lifting. Each chain length, not each link, must be marked with the grade marking if it's approved for overhead lifting. Each chain must have a tag that's permanently affixed. It must be durable. Give the size and grade, and the rated capacity. Sizes and lengths. Example would be a 5/8" chain with a 6-foot length. Hooks are a very important part of your system. But remember, you must pick the correct hook. Slip hook, rigging hook, grab hook, or specialty hook all need to be considered before you do a pick. Select the correct one. It's very important that you understand the working load limits. Know what those limits are before you do a pick. You do not exceed the working load limits ever. Use alloy heat-treated hooks for overhead lifting. Use only for intended use. Do not shock or dynamic load. Do not apply load to hook latches. Regular user inspections are required. There must be a visual inspection prior to each day's use. The user inspection done each day means that it has to be cleaned prior to inspection, and you need to have a visual examination of each link. Additional inspections shall be performed during sling use when service conditions warrant. If they're damaged, you need to take them out of service. Meaningful inspections include twists, looking for twists and bends, nicks, gouges, pitting, excessive wear at the bearing points, elongation, corrosion, or other obvious damage. A more thorough periodic inspection shall be made on a regular basis to be determined on the amount of use, severity of service conditions, nature of lifts, and experience gained through service life. These inspections shall be done at least every 12 months. Thorough inspections need to be done by a competent person designated by the employer and shall include a thorough inspection for wear, defective welds, and deformation. Attachments, hooks, rings, oblong, pear-shaped couplings, or the sling shall not be used in excess of the rated capacities. Always consider the weakest point of your lifting system. You cannot use makeshift links or fasteners. Damaged or defective chains must be removed from service. Tagged and make sure they're not used. For lifting. Now let's talk about synthetic web slings. Synthetic web slings have two different types, the flat and round. They both have stretch up to 14%. The flat ones have load-bearing threads that cannot be visible to inspection. Round slings have a double jacket that protects the load-bearing core. Synthetic web slings offer a number of advantages for rigging purposes. You need to select the appropriate sling. Most slings are either nylon and polyester. They all have approximately the same strength per inch. You gain strength by adding width or adding plies. Each sling shall be marked or labeled to show the rated capacities for each type of hitch. It is as you can see here for this sling size. A vertical lift is 6,400 pounds, while a choker is only 5,100 pounds. But when you go to a basket hitch, it's up to 12,800 pounds. Read the label and understand hitches and weights. Undefined. Webbing on all slings shall be of uniform thickness and width. Environmental conditions determine what kind of sling is going to be used, nylon or polyester. Nylon web slings shall not be used where chemicals are present. Daily inspection of slings is required, and you must remove from service when there is damage affecting strength. You remove them from service. When you see caustic or acid burns, melting or charring, snags, punctures, tears, broken or torn stitches, deterioration of the fittings. Any of those, they have to be tagged and removed from service. Look for signs of wear and damage. And here are some examples: chemical damage, heat damage, holes, cuts, tears, broken worn stitches. Wear and abrasion. Knots. UV damage and damaged fittings. You must look for all of those when doing the inspections. Remember that knots reduce the strength. Approximately 50% or more. Now let's turn our attention to wire rope. Wire rope slings shall not be used with loads in excess of the rated capacities as shown in the OSHA rules. Understand that wire rope is much different than other kinds of slings. Wire rope is made up of a core, wire, a center wire. All of those together make up the strand, and there we have a wire rope. There are different types of wire rope. This is a common one. We need to remove wire rope from service. When there's damage, you have to look for these damages. As you do inspections, wear a pair of gloves and run your hands down the wire rope. Abuse, such as kinking and bird caging, is something else you need to look for. Always follow manufacturer's recommendation. You'll see bird caging illustrated right here. You must understand different rope lays. One revolution around the rope is one rope lay. There are different rope lays. There are long lays, short lays, right lays, left lays, and then there's a combination of lays that are for specialized wire rope. Select the one that is appropriate for the work you're doing. You need to remove wire rope from service when there's 10 randomly distributed broken wires in one rope lay. You can see the illustration up here. Wire rope sling selection is important, and there's many different styles to choose from. Become familiar with those. Selection of wire rope slings for different applications is something that you need to talk to your supervisor about. When selecting a wire rope sling, you must make sure you get the best service for strength, the ability to bend without distortion, as have the ability to withstand abrasive wear and abuse. If you have questions, if you're not absolutely sure, if you don't know if it's a solid pick, if you're not sure about the environmental conditions, ask your supervisor. Understand what and how you are picking and what the ramifications might be. So now it's time to explain what you have learned to your supervisor. So contact your supervisor and have that discussion. Remember that he will talk about these critical points. Can you identify safe work practices? Do you know lifting chain grades? Identify and understand sling markings? Understand safe working load limits? You need to know all this. You also will need to know how to conduct a pre-use inspection, select proper attachments, select proper synthetic sling for the job, and a window removed from service when it's no longer serviceable. So that's it for today. You work safe out there.